This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, hope you guys are able to see my screen. We'll start with our day one App Dynamics session information. Say today we are going to see App Dynamics introduction. Uh, First of all, we should have an understanding uh, why this APM tools are comes into the picture. In what way App Dynamics is actually good in the industry. Okay, say say if I am doing a performance testing, I record the scenario, I do certain customization, replay the scenario, execute the test, and finally providing the report to the stakeholder. But if I provide the report to the stakeholder, there are places I need to convince the end user expect certain information, say I need to have end-to-end metric. I need to have certain um, intelligence built in the reporting, or I need to have certain notification should be get I need to get notification whenever there is a problem. So all these things, the expectations from the customer, right, that we have to fulfill, not with the performance testing tool, using these APM tools. That is the reason people are moving towards these APM tools, because whatever the ask from the customer, right, say you need to have certain intelligence built in, you need to have certain notification, you need to get certain notification, or I need to have end-to-end response time. This end-to-end response time is also using the normal performance testing tool you cannot get it. Somebody can tell me, no, no, if I use true client protocol I will get it. There are people who will say, if I use TrueClaim protocol, I will get the end-to-end performance testing response time. Or there are people who will say, if I use Selenium script, I will get it. These are all, I would say, one version of getting the response time, but it is not true response time. That is how we need to understand it. Because these Selenium or True Client, all those are considered to be object-oriented programming, because object, if it is there, it will say pass. Object, if it is not there, it will say fail. So using TrueClean protocol or the Selenium scripting and all, we'll get a response time, but it is not exactly or the true number of or true representation of the end user response time or what. No, we cannot tell that straight away. Say example, if I say tiger, if I say tiger, I'm getting certain images. Okay, if I copy this image, say copy image, and then if I go to a different browser, I'll paste that URL if I click it. So the image is coming here only, right? But it is not always, it should be in the center, right? It may be in the left hand side, it may be in the right hand side, it may be downside, like that. So what this is actually telling to us is that you are using your load testing tool to hit the URL alone. Correct? You are using the load testing tool to hit the URL alone. that URL, it need not be actually painting the object in a respective place. So this page rendering, page painting concept and all is missing when you are using a load testing tool. That is what I'm trying to say. This end-to-end response time, including the page rendering, page painting concept and all, we are unable to simulate it in the load testing tool. That is the reason we are using these APM tools to at least like inject the agent into the environment. When the end user is using that application, these agents are collecting certain information and it is sending the data to your App Dynamics UI, the front end controller. They'll call it as controller. So wherein you will be measuring the client side response time, server side response time, DB side response time, like that. You can segregate and then you will measure the data. So there is a delta of response time, is there is a small piece of response time is actually missing in just a minute please. Yeah. So that is the reason we are going towards these APM tools, because what APM tools are giving is it is giving the solution for whatever the problem that we are facing. What are all the problems? This end-to-end response time coverage. No, we can use the APM tools to get this metric, and then this alerting system. Because if there is a problem in the infrastructure, there is a CPU utilization problem, there is a memory utilization problem, some garbage collection problem, all those things are happening in the infrastructure. Traditionally what is happening, all the infrastructure support people will be working for 24/7, sitting in front of the machine monitoring the CPU memory. If there is a problem, they will create a level 1 ticket, level 2 ticket, like that, and then they will report to the respective team. The respective team in the midnight, they will say, we are going to have a war room effect, and then we are going to fix this issue, like that. Traditionally it was the problem. At that time people used to have lot of people used to have lot of problems whenever they are doing this infrastructure monitoring or production support people. They'll struggle a lot whenever they are doing this activity. But now this is becoming very very easy if you deploy these APM tools in the production environment. That will do all the intelligence, because basically what it will do, it will monitor the infrastructure. It is having the baseline data. If the baseline data is breached with the current capturing data, then it will do the alerting system, and then the remedial action as well. It will not only do alerting, it also have certain remedial actions to be performed. Say like you can run certain HTTP request, you can run some cron job or something like that. Like that, you can do certain other recovery action also along with your alerting system. So this APM tool, specifically this App Dynamics APM tool is there, right? There is intelligence built in. I would say it is a AI because it is auto detecting your infrastructure. It is auto detecting that there is one tier, there is two tier, there is three tier, and in that one tier, two tier, three tier, there is one node, two node, three node, like that. It is actually auto detecting the infrastructure. What is that one tier, two tier? I'll explain. Say say I have a just web server. I have a web server. I have a app server, and I have a DB server. Okay. Here, this web server is called as this is tier, right? One tier, and this is also one tier. Okay, and this is also one tier. So basically, in interview also, people used to ask, can you explain three-tier architecture or n-tier architecture, like that, right? So similar understanding. So here, the web server, app server, and DB server, all these three are mentioned as tier. And then say an example, this web server is having two servers. This app server is having three servers. Okay, this DB server is having two servers. Okay, which means that in this case there are two node web server, three node app server, two node DB server. Okay, node is nothing but how many machines that are connected. Okay, here you need to have an understanding. Tier is nothing but web server, app server, DB server is a tier. Web server, how many machine? App server, how many machine? DB server, how many machine? That is called as nodes. Okay, I'll take a pause here. Anybody have any question? Please ask your question, please.
Uh, Hi, Rajni here. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
We are appending App Dynamics arguments, right, in the server to
Mm-hmm.
monitor.
Mm-hmm.
If application team is asking, we don't want any JVM to be monitored, please disable the JVMs, and we need only server. Whenever server goes down or restarts, we need an alert. Is it possible in App Dynamics?
See, your question is actually combination of two agents. Actually, whatever you are saying, right? The initial one is you can add your the Catalina underscore OPTS file under the Apache Tomcat server. Then that is actually a JVM argument. We are adding inside, and then we are getting the metric. Okay, that is application related metric. You are saying you don't want that application related metric to be monitored, right? There is another way that whatever you are saying is called as machine agent. If you have a machine agent installed, okay, you will be getting a CPU related, memory related information. Okay, in that case you will have the not availability, I would say it is a infrastructure monitoring information that you will be getting. And then you have one more thing called synthetic monitoring. That synthetic monitoring will tell you the availability of the machine and also certain performance related attributes. Okay, so without having your JVM argument, say this Catalina OPTS file, right? This Catalina file, without adding that as well, which means that without the JVM will only measure the application related metric. Without that as well, you can do a monitor. Okay.
Yeah, that is how I am asking. I can see in a controller as I can see CPU and memory utilized metrics and captured and getting alerts for the application team. So if we
Hmm.
disable the JVM, okay, JVM related alerts. Is it possible to monitor a server? I'm asking. If the server goes down, I got your
Disable.
point.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, disable the JVM is nothing but not monitoring. You are not monitoring your application. Okay.
I'm
You
not
are
disabling the JVM. I am disabling only alerts.
okay. Yeah. Still possible. Still possible. You don't even want to create any alerts and actions. Still, you can do the monitoring.
Yeah, because I have seen like machine agents is also running. I can see
Hmm.
only CPU and memory can be seen, right? How much percentage it is used. Where I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
is when where system is goes down, how can a team get an alert? In the process, you can explain me. Now, not now, while going on.
Yeah. Say without having any alerts and notification also, you have an still a standalone monitoring you can do it. Okay. The it is not that always you need to enable the alerting system. No. See there it is all case to case. If it is required to have a alerting system, you can do it, or else still you can do a monitoring on your own. Okay.
Okay.
Sarvan, I have a query regarding what we just discussed about the three-tier architecture. So you are saying we can have app server, then web server and DB server. Can you just give an example? Because when we are using Apache Tomcat, so it is an application server, it is a web server because we are deploying application into Apache. So it will be app server, right? So can you
See,
give an example?
see, it is both the way. It is not that Apache should be always web server. If I say
Right,
Apache web server also, it's still possible.
right. So
Okay,
how we differentiate? Like, I just wanted to understand uh,
that
this
is
in
what
the
it. See,
three-tier architecture.
yeah, yeah. If you explain, no, the enterprise level companies, what they usually do, they will have a guys. Those who are not talking, can you go on mute, guys?
In some enterprises, I can see.
Okay. Somebody started asking question.
In some enterprises, I can see Apache Web Services are not monitored.
That is what
Did you
that
like?
I'm about to say that. Yeah, just a minute. Huh? See, the enterprise level companies, they will have a separate machine for separate servers. Okay, see, web server, app server, DB server, like that. If it's a small scale company, they will have certain cost minification. Because of that, they'll try to have clubbed together shared environment, shared servers, like that they used to have it. And also we know, as per the definition of this web server, app server, DB server, web server, what is the definition? It is going to have the static content, the PNG, JPEG, your JavaScript files, all those things are there in the web servers. App servers is a place where your entire application logic is going to be available. Say whatever the core business logic that we are having, it is going to be available in the application server. And then the third one is DB server, where you are going to have your database logic, all the table structures, table data, everything will be there in the DB. Now people realize that the criticality of these three servers. So people are believing that application server and DB server, wherein the data intensive, logic intensive things are happening in the application server and the web server. The predominantly the web server will have a lightweighted mechanism, say like storing the static component is the only thing which is happening in the web server, right? So most of the time the enterprise level companies, what they are thinking, why don't you have a separate monitoring agent to be available there to do the monitoring? Instead we do monitoring of the application server and the DB server. That is a logic behind that. But if the enterprise level companies have a wide range of investment procedure, there are enterprise companies I saw, they invest lot of money in the beginning of the year to do this kind of investment. In that case, they will not worry about having multiple agents in multiple places. So they will deploy the agents as well in the server wherever they require. They will not consider those things. Okay, but logically thinking, having a separate agent in web server, we need to double think, because we don't want to have static contents to be monitored, but application server and DB server wherein the critical business flows are happening. So it is mandate to have that agents to be installed. And also, say if it is 100% of the server clusters are there, say there are, I saw there are customers, they are having 150 servers, 100 servers like that. In that case, we need to think like whether we need to deploy agent into those 150 servers or what, or we need to go with the percentage of installation, say 10% of the total servers, or 20% of the total servers, or to go to the entire coverage or what. So it is up to the investment that the customer is planning to make. Based on that, we are going to have that installation done. Say there are times if you do not have sufficient amount of the investment for procuring the license, then you cannot go with a 100% coverage, right? So we'll go for 20 or 50% of the coverage of the servers. That is how the decision making is happening. Did I answer your question?
Hey, Saravanan, this is Surendra.
Yeah, Surendra.
Yeah, you said auto detecting happening if you have 3 or 4 nodes. So let us say I have one app server which has 4 nodes. So how it's relate to the auto detecting? What is the helpful auto detecting concept here?
See, basically what AppDynamics will do, there is a request triggered and it is going to app server and it is going to DB server and all. It will basically track that flow graph. It'll show you, right? Flow chart. It will basically track the request, where it is originating and where it is going, which activity it is doing, those things and all. AppDynamics is predominantly will cover it.
Oh,
But
okay.
but if you do not have agent into that respective layer, you cannot do that deep dive analysis. Still, it will show in the flow map. It will show in the flow map, but if you double click it, or if you right click and do the view detail option, you will not go for the deep dive analysis. Still, you will only have a high level understanding. That is the reason it is good that if you go with the agent installation, you will go with the deep dive analysis. That is the purpose of having this agent installation. If you do not have agents, you cannot do your deep dive understanding.
Yeah, got it. So you are saying I have 2 nodes. One node is having agent, another node is not having agent. So those calls cannot be monitored. I mean, so monitor sense deep dive analysis is not possible,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Yeah. For my case, I can see those calls in a remote service based calls. So what is remote service basis? So let us say one node is doesn't have agent. So how we can track that? Forget about deep dive analysis. Is there any way to track that? I mean, is there any way to monitor those unagent agent mission calls?
Surendra, you tell me what is the purpose of it?
Now let us say for I have 2 nodes. One node is having agent, another node is not having. But my business, my calls are going through 2 nodes. So I want to I want to monitor the other node, because other node is doesn't have uh, agent, but I want to monitor somehow only basic monitoring, only response time error, something like. Will it possible?
See, that is what I understand your question. There is no business logic behind this, right? See, it is like testing. You are testing AppDynamics. Why do you want to test AppDynamics? We don't want to test the AppDynamics. We want to test the infrastructure, test our application, right? Here you are testing the AppDynamics. It is like failure testing you are trying to do. So ultimately our goal is not to test the or validate the AppDynamics tool whether it is working good, whether it is taking the data or no, right? We want to say you have a picture. What is a picture? You need to monitor your own application.
Okay,
If you are
I will give
monitoring,
you one, Sarvan, I will give one shortest example. Let us say agent is not mean somehow other non-agent machines are also available. Let us say which is where there is no agent, AppDynamic agent, there is no compatibility to install agent. So in that case, AppDynamics treat as those are remote services only. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
no,
Remote.
it is not that. It is not remote services.
Okay.
Remote services term itself different, Surendra. Yeah,
Okay.
you go ahead.
Yeah, that's
You
what
go.
because I because when I requested to my AppDynamics team, they want install that, they immediately come back to me. Oh, no, this agent is not possible. So you need to monitor those in a remote service calls. For
Hmm.
example, I have Data Power Call, one of the middleware with IBM product, which AppDynamics doesn't have agent. So
Hmm.
what they are using those calls using some extension monitoring or
Hmm.
something like remote service calls. They simply say go and monitor those using remote service where you can see the all the that non-agent uh, calls as well.
Yeah.
So
Say in your case, Surendra, it is typically because you are actually expected to monitor a middleware. That is the
yes,
reason we are saying it is a remote service. It is
yes,
not that, but it is not that wherever you are not having the agent, it is a remote service. No. In your
okay,
case, it is actually a remote service because it is a middleware call. Usually, how a middleware will work, you will consume certain service, right? You will consume certain service from the middleware or they'll you call it as third party also. So
yes,
use in that third party, you will consume certain services, which is actually a service call. That is the reason they are using the remote services option. But it need not be wherever you are not having the agent, it is not considered as remote service. Okay, because in our case, it is a different logic itself, right? You have an option, but you did not install. You are
yes,
able to understand, right? You
yes,
have an option to have that many number of application agent, that many number of machine agents to be installed, but you did not install it. That then that is not considered as a remote service. It is that it will only show you the tier and the node, how much it is actually connected, how it is able to track your data. So that is the reason in AppDynamics the term is called as there is a term called call graph. Okay,
okay,
the
yeah,
call graph, it will say either it is a partial call graph or full call graph when it is capturing. I'll show you that there is a session. Okay, there is a session in which I'll explain the call graph. For now, since you asked this question, I'm replying. Okay,
okay,
so there is a partial call graph and there is a full call graph. Why? Because the tool is able to fully identify certain path, means that is a full call graph. The tool is unable to identify the path of the flow, then it is a partial call graph, because that agent is available or the agent is not available. That is what the understanding. Clear, Surendra?
yeah, yeah, clear, clear. So, and one more question. You said the process. I mean, just I wanted to know. Let us say I have one web server, one app server. So the installation of agent for both is same. Is it different agents available? So how we can we consider process onboarding agent is similar?
Answer to your question, if your application is a Java application, if it is a .NET application, PHP, Python, Node.js, you have different agents are available. Okay.
Okay.
You have to have a different agents to be installed in the application server, and then only the respective data will be monitored. Similarly, you also have a real user monitoring for iOS device, for Android device, for database, for C++, like that. You have a different agents are. Okay, say an example, your machine is a Windows machine, or your machine is a Linux machine, or your machine where you have a Java application running. Your machine there you have .NET application running, like that. Based on the technology stack, you are going to have a agent installed and then data captured.
Correct.
Able to
Correct.
understand?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. It is not a single holistic agent where you are going to install it and then get the metric. It is available in Dynatrace. Okay, in Dynatrace. In Dynatrace only they'll call it as one agent. That one agent, wherever you install, whatever you do, you will get the metric. Okay. But here it is all naming oriented or the technology oriented, I would say. In that way only we are capturing the metric. But in App Dynamics also, there is a concept called a universal agent. Okay, just a minute. There is a concept called universal agent in App Dynamics. That is there. Okay, there is a concept called universal agent is there. Okay, the universal agent enabled to run and manage App Dynamics runtime by single configuration file. Okay, but it is quite similar to your one agent only. But I would say still the App Dynamics is not promoting, or they are not doing lot of activity in the, it needs lot of activity, right? It is not that easy straight away. You in a one day you cannot become familiar, right? So I would say they did not do that the investment or the promotions for this universal agent concept. But still they are trying to mimic, or they are trying to use like a one agent, but till now they did not do that kind of an activity. Able to understand, Surendra?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So my one question is here. See, I have app server. The procedure is like you are saying. You need to go install the JVMs and all this. But web server, I don't think so. You have JVMs running on web server. So I want to track web server traffic as well. So how you are going to uh, install, onboarding the App Dynamic agent? So is
I
there
think
any?
in no, yeah, you can install machine agent straight away
Okay,
to
got it.
CPU memory related things and all. I
Yeah,
don't
got
think
it.
business logic, nothing is there, right? It
Yes,
is a
I've only
static component
yeah,
load.
yes, yes, yeah, only URLs and all get.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
the customer sometimes they want to track, monitor the web server traffic as well. So in that scenario,
You can
so
install the machine agent. You can
oh,
install the machine agent.
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And yeah.
Hi, for non-IT people, can you little brief explain me what is web server and app server?
Yeah. That
Not
is what
that
I
much
meant.
deeper.
Yeah. That is what I mentioned. The web server is nothing but your static components. Static component in the sense, like in a page, there are images are there. There are JavaScript files, CSS files. They'll say, right. Those are all called as static files. Okay. Those static files are maintained in the web server usually. Say if it is a IAS server or this Apache Tomcat or whichever the server, they specifically maintain a static component inside the web server. Okay, and then app server is nothing but your core business logic. Core business logic is nothing but, say I'm doing addition, multiplication, division, or I'm doing some activity like button click means this will happen, link click means this will happen, like that. I'm writing a core business logic in the application server. And then if I request some information related to Saravanan, the Saravanan detail will be stored in where? DB. So from the DB only the data will be pulled in. So the data table, all those informations are stored in the database. So that is how these three tiers are there. Web server means static content, app server means business logic, and then DB server means your database information. Whatever the tables and structures are there, right? That information will be stored in the database. Here?
Like,
Okay.
Sarvan,
Okay.
Sarvan, same question. Like, can you explain with the example? Because I'm confused with the Apache Tomcat. It's a app server or the web server? Like you said, like Apache will be the web server, but it is app server,
No,
right?
no. See, I just told you an example that Apache can okay, just a minute.
Apache or JBoss.
Yeah, you can use these are the different web servers. So you can see n number of types are there, right? I just told you it is one of the example. That's all. Okay. It is not that always we will use Apache Tomcat or what. No, no, no. No, I did not say like that. Different types of, you can say Apache HTTP server is there, Microsoft IIS, Nginx, Lightspeed, Apache Tomcat, Node.js. Like this, you have n number of web servers are there. Able to understand?
Okay, and what are the app servers available?
App server is also similarly the same things, right? The similar brand will have their own app servers as well. It is only a brand, that's all.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay, okay.
And also, how should we identify a difference between web server and app server? The only app team can confirm us, right? Other than
Yeah.
that, we cannot.
Most of the time, how and what things are available. Based on that only your decision making is going to happen. Say if you are really storing what. Okay, these are the app servers. Somebody asked the question, right? These are the app servers. Okay, say what is it? One more question, right? Say if the core logic implemented in the server, then it will consider to be app servers. If only the static contents are stored, then it is considered to be web server. And there are companies, there are organizations, there are the stakeholders. What they will do, they will strategically identify whether I need to have a separate machine to be available, or I can combine everything and then keep it in the single place itself. It is all decision making only, guys. Okay, it is not that as I told, there is a three-tier architecture means three different machine. Okay, it is the definition. By definition, if you are having three different servers, it is a three-tier architecture. If you are having two servers, say an example, web app combined one machine, DB combined one machine means that is two-tier, or web app DB combined in one machine, that is called as one tier or single tier architecture. So possible. So single tier architecture possible, two tier architecture possible, three tier architecture possible, n tier architecture possible. Like that, you have, these are definitions. Okay, these are definitions. With that, we are going with it. Okay, but nowadays this cloud concepts, this elastic search concept, everything comes into the picture, right? So what people are doing, they are trying to maintain certain environment in a single place itself, because it is all shared in a common infrastructure, right? So it is need not be always three tier or two tier or whatever call it as. Okay, but by definition those are the things. But if you go with cloud infrastructure, I don't think we will maintain different servers. Clear, guys?
Yeah, clear. Also, you teach
Thank you so much.
Elasticsearch and Grafana, ELK and Grafana.
What is that? Your question, repeat your question, please.
Elasticsearch and Grafana. Will you
No,
teach Elasticsearch and Grafana?
no. What is that
Not.
need? You tell me.
So in our organization, they are going to implement. That's what I'm asking.
No. So see
Graph,
this. I don't think in this requirement Grafana or InfluxDB is that
Kibana.
critical. Yeah. That is what I'm saying. It is all charting system only. Okay. Kibana, Grafana, InfluxDB storage, everything will be used for the live monitoring. Okay. It is having in JMeter because JMeter is not having a live monitoring capability, right? So that is the reason people are moving towards that. They are getting the data, storing into the Grafana or Kibana, storing into InfluxDB, and then visualizing in the Grafana and Kibana. Okay, that is how people are predominantly utilizing. but we are not here. We are not utilizing it for our.
Yeah, I came to know that, but I asked in the chart like that in JMeter they will be covering Grafana it seems. In the
In
JMeter
JMeter,
course.
I think
In the JMeter,
you touch base with Kumar. They will
yeah,
explain it.
yeah,
The
no.
course content they will explain it. Okay.
Okay, thank
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So this the next one is so the browser supported. These are the browser supported by the App Dynamics, and then there is on-premises version, and then the SaaS model is available in App Dynamics. Okay. Say first I'll explain what will happen in on-premises and what will happen in SaaS account for because there are people are very new to this things, right? On premise is nothing but all your infrastructures are maintained within your premises. Say say I am an Amazon customer means what I will feel like the software or the machine, everything should be inside my premises, in my firewall, my LAN. That is called as on premises. Or there are customers they will feel like I can keep my entire storage and everything in the cloud provided by the vendor itself. Okay, the tool vendor itself, because they will maintain the infrastructure. Okay, so sometimes what will happen in the inside the premises, I told you, right? That may be a private cloud also, private cloud provided to me. But why I did not use the term private cloud piece, because there are insurance companies, there are banking customers, they always feel that their data should be safe and secure without having any data breach. Okay, because of that reason only they will not go for this cloud option at all. I saw many banking customers and insurance customers, still they feel that they want to store the data securely. They will never ever go for the option of cloud, because what they will feel, somebody will take their data. So that is the reason this on-premises version of App Dynamics is there, so that you can install the entire tool within their premises itself. Okay, within their premises itself, and then they can do the monitoring and whatever they want, they can do it. Or there are customers they feel like no, I don't want to keep the storage into my location. I can keep the storage in the cloud. You do the entire thing. I will pay for you. You do the entire thing. What this App Dynamics is doing, they have a version called SaaS model. They will maintain the licensing part, they will maintain the infrastructure part and everything. Only they will get the service benefit. Say if the Amazon is getting the SaaS account from App Dynamics, they'll get the service benefits, but remaining all things will be handled by the vendor only. The infrastructure, the licensing part and everything all are maintained by the App Dynamics. Okay, why? Because if you are having it in your local premises, okay, you have to do the data backup, you have to do the server maintenance, you have to do some kind of updation or upgradation, whatever you are trying to do, no, that you have to take care. That is actually a tedious job, right? You cannot do a data backup regularly. You have to do a system upgrade, system restart, these that everything you have to monitor, which means that you have to at least one or two people you have to um, work in that particular scenario itself, right? So that is not actually expected. So if you are going for SaaS account, the SaaS account, you are only getting the URL, username, password, and then the licensing information. You are going to only get the service benefit. The remaining thing and all is managed by the vendor itself, the AppDynamics vendor itself. What they will do, they will do the upgradation, they will do the system maintenance, infrastructure, storage capability, everything they are going to maintain it. You don't want to worry at all, because you are paying money. That's all. You are paying money and you are going to get the service benefits. That's the difference between the on-premises and the SaaS account. Anybody have any question, guys, in this?
I can see in some enterprises they have a PCF and Azure Cloud.
Come again? Azure Cloud?
Azure and PCF.
Okay. Okay.
So they have their own setup, right? They will be downloading the AppDynamics structure from the Artifactory.
Yeah, see,
Hello.
that is what I'm telling you. The core difference between the on-premises and the SaaS is whether I want to have a infrastructure or you are going to provide the infrastructure. Whether I am going to do the maintenance or what, or you are going to do the maintenance. Whether I am going to do the data backup or you are going to do the data backup. That is the purpose. Okay, that is the reason they are moving towards this this on-premises and the SaaS account. Other than that, infrastructure I can also provide. Sometimes I can also provide, or you can also provide a private cloud to me. It is all case to case. It is all case to case. But primary objective is on-premises means data storage, data maintenance, data system upgradation, everything. Who is going to handle it?
Sarwan, Praveen this side. Actually, I lost you because my internet was down. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. Tell me, please.
Okay. Yep, actually my net connection was just like interrupted. Anyways, I wanted to ask about the on-premises side because in our organization we do have on-premises. So I just wanted to know about the best practices and how we can manage that on-premises pandemic, the patch up and all, how to track it. On that part, I need information.
See, the installation and the configuration part only a little different with the on-premises and the SaaS account. All the remaining everything is same only. Okay, the monitoring part, data capture, data things, everything is same. And post activity is same. Prior activity only you need to have on-premises version of things to be installed. I'll show that as well. The architecture diagram I'm going to show you, right? That time you will get the difference of what is on-premises and what is SaaS account. That time you will get the difference. Okay.
Okay, I got it. Like on-premises we need to manage, but what we need to manage, like how on what is the interval of patching it up? Like for Microsoft, we know we have twice a week increase the release packages. The same kind of thing. What are the best practices to manage the on-prem account, on-prem infrastructure, basically? That's what
See,
I'm asking.
that is what I told you. Maybe you are expecting something to be uh, okay. Okay. Now you can see the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the architecture for on-premises. Okay, and same way if this is the architecture for SaaS. Okay, there are
Okay.
things are there in the cloud, which means that the vendor is actually managing these part. Okay, in
Okay.
on-premises, these are the things. This controller infrastructure, and then event services, and then end user monitoring. These are the separate components that you are monitoring, you are managing. Okay, you are managing. This left hand side is all common. This right hand
Right.
side only you are managing. Okay,
Yes.
7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10 that you are monitoring. Say an example, this controller infrastructure, event services, end user monitoring, and then if there is a geo server, if you are having, if you are not all the case you will have it. If you are having, you can do the monitoring. So basically, controller infrastructure is nothing but when you are installing the AppDynamics, no, if you are doing the on-premises installation, there are two key things you will install. One is controller and the other one is event services. They'll call it as enterprise console. Okay, this
Okay.
installation is called as enterprise console. Okay, while doing that, these two primary components that you will be installing it, remaining things at all, it is all it is a subset of it. You think like it is a subset. But predominantly controller in the event services will be installed. Along with that, there will be a end user monitoring server also will be installed, and then geolocation if it is all case to case. Okay. So these are the things you need to manage. This controller infrastructure and event services or the end user monitoring, these are the things you have to manage. Say this controller infrastructure and event services I'm saying, right? While doing that, there is a prerequisite. Say it should have there are small, medium, large installations are there. Okay. In that you should have a 4 GB RAM available or 100 GB hard disk required. Like that, there are prerequisite. While installing, it will ask you. Say an example, in the database, you are keep on storing the data, and then the database is full, or the not database full, your memory is full, your either RAM is showing full or your hard disk is showing full. What will you do?
We need to clean it up.
You need to do a backup, right? You need to do the backup activity. You need to have one more hard disk where you will store all your permanent data over there, and then you will try to say like what else can be done to do your application up and running without any issue. This data backup, and then say like some information that you are receiving from the App Dynamics, that you need to have a latest version of the App Dynamics to be installed. That is called upgradation, right? That who will do? You have to do. So on premises means you need to have a system maintenance activity. You need to have a data backup archiving mechanism to be properly maintained. If you are missing, say you miss to do that data backup and the archiving activity, what will happen?
Loss of data.
You lost all your data, right? All your stored data will be gone. So say you think about from a retail customer. The retail customers are always depending on data. That time, if you are losing this much of a data, will you take that responsibility to say that no, I missed it, today only I miss it, tomorrow I will take it? Like that, we cannot give any excuses, right? But that is the reason this retail customer predominantly will try to go for SaaS account, because they don't want to take any risk. Data backup, data recovery, they don't want to take any risk. That is the reason they'll go for this SaaS. But if you think about banking customer or the insurance customer, for them there is no data intensive activity, right? For them it is all lightweighted things, they are doing the monitoring. So that is the reason they are going for the on-premise. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we will be discussing in detail, right?
Yeah, we'll be doing discussion. Yeah, correct. Uh, okay. With this, maybe we'll wrap up our today's session. Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks everyone for joining today's session. Thanks for asking different questions, which will bring a lot of thought process in our mind. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. Have a nice day, guys. Bye bye.
Hope we are not disturbing you, right, with more questions.
No, it is actually a healthy way. Say usually what will I do, if it is a lengthy answer, I'll take it at the end. If it is a very small answer, I'll definitely right away I'll explain it. That is how I usually would. It should be a dialogue session. It never should be a monologue session. It should be a dialogue session. I'll encourage people to ask question. If it is a very small answer, straight away I'll answer it. If it is a little lengthy answer, or it is specific to you alone, your organization, your project alone, I'll take you separately also sometimes. If that I'll manage. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you
Thanks
so
all
much.
for joining. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.